Thanks again to everyone who's joined the session. We are proud to present another session of the Gripping webinar, this time with Siddharth Ladsariya, who is the founder of Everest Fleet. As all of our users know, we use this session to provide an insight about the companies that Grip provides leasing opportunities to. We've been working with Everest for almost a year now, providing finance for the purchase of cars that are operated on Everest Fleet's platform. I think what is incredibly exciting and we'll spend a lot of time talking about in the session is the product that Everest Fleet runs is something that most of us consume every day, if not every day, once in a week or once in a month in terms of mobility services. Everest has been at a very interesting time this year with their partnership with Uber, and we're going to spend some time talking about that as well. Siddharth, welcome to the session. Thank you for taking your time and wish everyone a very happy Diwali.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Perfect. So that would love to hear a little bit about your background. You come from a background of entrepreneurs of family business with Everest Flavors, and as you made that journey from Everest Flavors to starting something of your own in Everest Fleet, would love to hear a little bit about that journey. What got you excited and passionate about this business?
Sure. So just to introduce myself, a Bombay kid, born and brought up in Mumbai. My father is a first generation entrepreneur, so have seen him how he has grown his business over the past few decades, and did my engineering and MBA from the US, worked for a couple of years in ICICI Bank in between, and then immediately came back to India to join my family business, which was export of essential oils under the brand of Everest Flavors Limited. Now, this being a typical family-run business, my father was encouraging me to, get involved with startups in way back in 2009, 2010, because he thought that that would keep me interested, and that's the time when I began my journey investing in startups on his behalf. So made a lot of investments till date. This journey has been very, very exciting. Got huge amounts of learning, invested in more than 150 startups, and many of them, which now have become big companies. But back then they were paper ideas and they were small companies. This was how my journey started back. And a few 5 years ago, stumbled upon this opportunity wherein I realized that the ecosystem in these aggregators are typically Ola and Uber. So the asset utilization is extremely low. Typically, a driver, he drives a car for 8 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and probably 10 months in a year. And apart from that, the car is not utilized. So the asset utilization is typically 40% or lower. So with this thought process, thought that can we help do something to increase this asset utilization? Can we take this 40 to 80%? So with that, this idea of Everest Fleet was born that, we will run all our cars 24 hours, 365 days. So we will set up a company right from day one to ensure that, the asset utilization problem in a capital starved market like India is solved by us. This said, I also actively volunteer in an NGO called Young Volunteers Organization. So there's a little bit of social feeling at the end, the passion and the mission to create 100,000 jobs. This business was a perfect instrument to help create more jobs. So today we have more than 1,700 drivers working for us. Our team size is around 200 people. So this is how Everest Fleet was born, with these ideas. And yeah.
Got it. Okay. And most of us are aware, and I think Grip has provided a lot of information about Everest, but maybe in a brief, and Siddharth, you should correct me, but today Everest either finances cars via loans, leasing, various options, and then hires drivers to operate them. These cars are predominantly deployed on Uber's network. So an Uber ride is basically redirected to an Everest Fleet car, and then these cars are operated on Uber's network. But within the Everest Fleet framework or ecosystem, you also provide a lot of other services as part of a very unique combination of business model that allows Everest to have very different profitability and very different margins and economics. Could you talk a little bit about that and what those differentiators are?
Sure. So as you rightly said, our core business remains, buying hatchback CNG, fuel efficient cars, CNG cars, and running them on Uber's platform. So, most of the users in the cities of Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, if you book an Uber, there's a very high chance that you have sat in an Everest car. And Hyderabad will be launching next month. So that is our core primary business. Apart from this, we have also launched a few other verticals which are part of the same ecosystem and which interrelate to each other. So one vertical of ours is our garage vertical, where the entire maintenance of the cars and the garage is in-house. So in Mumbai, we currently run a garage with around 100 parking bays, and our garage is the most cost efficient and the highest turnaround time, the fastest turnaround time garage. In this, we plan to replicate across multiple cities, and then rather than making it from a cost center, make it into a profit center. So that is one important word. The second vertical that we launch is what we call as Everest Heroes program, where we have a feet on the street team of 65 people around today, which basically helps go and help supply acquire supply for Uber. So the one set of drivers and cars are on the Everest platform, but Uber also has other requirements of cars. So this team helps, and with that we go and cross sell insurance to the drivers, loans to the drivers, and to create an ecosystem around it. So we want to eventually control supply, or be a significant part in supply for aggregators like Ola and Uber. Apart from this, we are currently now putting a refrigerated van project where we will be doing intra-city transport of food and medicinal products. So there's a lot of refrigerated vans available for intercity, but intra-city there are not too many players in most of the metros. So that's where we plan to fill the gap. Currently, we are piloting an electric car project where we are providing premium electric car as a service. So yeah, so these are various ancillary business. We also have a marketing division where on all our cars we have various modes of marketing: the stickers on top of the car, danglers inside the car, screens on top of the car. So these are various ancillary businesses that we do around our main core business.
Understood. And as a leasing business, a lot of our users ask this question about asset utilization, right? I think what got us incredibly excited about Everest was this strategy that you have that maximizes the utilization of the vehicle, apart from creating additional source of revenue, as you mentioned, through advertising or delivery. If I'm not wrong, Siddharth, a lot of your cars, at least, leave aside the COVID area or the COVID impact, were running almost 17 or 18 hours a day, right? With double shift of drivers and really extracting maximum value from the most expensive commodity, which is the vehicle.
Correct.
Yeah.
So just to correct you there, our cars were running 22 hours a
Okay.
day.
Okay.
So typically the 2 hours goes in changing of one car from the other to from a driver. And you are right on the number of 18 hours, which is the 18 online hours, 18
Got
plus
it.
online hours in Ola or Uber. And the difference between this 18 and 22 is primarily because a driver takes break between driving for lunch, for filling CNG and so on. So typically our cars are run 22 hours a day.
Got it. I think what is also interesting is, and you mentioned this, that all of your cars are hatchback CNGs. Very much like, all of us would have heard about Indigo Airlines being so specific about buying a single model of airplane, right? And that being a very core part of their competitiveness. I think people can draw a reference exactly to that. I understand that you have a great equation with Maruti because all of your cars are Maruti Wagonars or Celerios, and these are all CNG, which also helps you be much more competitive as an operator.
Correct. So you hit it absolutely right. So all our cars are Wagonar Celerio, or currently they call it Espresso, same line
Right.
from Maruti, and they are 100% Maruti cars, 100% company fitted CNG cars. We don't even have one diesel car, and we don't even plan to buy any diesel cars. Even the refrigerated vans that we are entering into, we are being disruptive by going into CNG operated refrigerated vans, and then eventually we will move to electric. So as part of this ecosystem, we are also very conscious of the environment, and we believe if we do good for the environment will do good for us as a business.
Yeah.
So yes, and with this, this focused, as you rightly said, Indigo, our repair, maintenance, our turnaround, all that becomes highly efficient.
Absolutely. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm also sure you're seeing a lot of advantage as the diesel and petrol prices are rising. You're seeing an advantage as a player with the CNG engine. Yeah.
Yes. So that has been our biggest moat. That all we never want to diversify into various assets, because diversification meant lethal in the difficult times. In the difficult times,
Absolutely.
people with diesel, they cannot remain competitive in these aggregator space. So yeah.
Understood. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have currently about 1,500 cars on the platform between the three cities, 1,500 plus cars.
Yeah, so we have currently around 1,547 cars today on road, and
Fantastic.
another 400 cars being delivered this month, another 700 cars being delivered next month. So on an average, we are trying to have 500 cars being delivered every month
Okay.
across the 3 or 4 cities.
Got it. Just to give a feel of what this means in terms of total number of trips taken or total number of passengers served, any kind of numbers you can give us on that?
Sure. So typically, our a car per day in the single shift. Currently, we are in the single shift domain because double shift demand has not fully recovered. We expect that demand to recover Jan onwards, Jan or Feb, early next year onwards. But in the single shift, a car does on an average 10 trips per day. So currently, with 1,547 cars, we are looking at 15,000 plus trips per day, and on an average, 1.8 customers sit in a car. So just for simplicity, if you consider two customers, so 30,000 customers are sitting inside our cars every day. So which means 30,000 customers are seeing the advertisements that we put inside the cars
Yeah.
as danglers every day. Yeah.
Understood. So maybe slight diversion, but if we were to sit in a Everest Fleet car, where can we see the Everest Fleet sign? The next time, if someone wants to figure out whether they're in an Everest car.
So out of conscious choice, we have not kept it
Oh,
that
okay.
way. The choice is we don't want our partners to feel threat that we are trying to create our own brand to compete with them. So that's
Understood.
why we don't advertise Everest Fleet cars.
Okay.
Secondly,
Understood.
there are also, potentially in this business, there could arise issues of unionization and political. So we try to keep a low profile as a
Got it.
company.
Perfect. Understood. Makes sense. Coming back to what you mentioned about COVID, and I remember that we probably did the first transaction with Everest Fleet around September, October last year. We were just coming out of the first cycle, and what was amazing to see was even in those months of the lockdown, Everest was generating revenue, and in fact, there was profitable EBITDA at the business level. What helped you make that shift or make that transition to continue being profitable and revenue generating even in the first lockdown?
Sure. So, COVID was announced on March 23rd. And the biggest challenge for us was we had around 700 odd cars then in the city of Mumbai. So the biggest challenge for us was to get those cars into a safe location. So, first 2 days we worked into getting those cars on a safe location. And then we realized that, the city of Mumbai is completely handicapped. There's no public transport. There's nothing. So there was only one agency called the BEST buses in Mumbai, which is the public transport, which was serving Mumbai. So on around March 27th, we decided that we want to get all our cars on the road. Of course, there were no permissions, police was not allowing us, and so on. But we decided we paid our drivers double the salaries. We had given them accommodation to stay. We provided them food. We had a team of doctors taking care of them, and we told that we have to get our cars on the road just to serve the city of Mumbai. Let's not worry about costs and profits and whatever. And with this mindset, we got most of our cars on the road serving the city. So in the lockdown, the first lockdown especially, we were the only agency or the only which was the backbone of the city of Mumbai. So we have transported millions of meals. We have transported a lot of patients to the hospitals. We have so stories like a mother was delivering a child and she had nowhere to go, and Everest reached out to them and helped them. People used to ask, how much will you charge? They're like, you can pay whatever you want to pay, but first ensure that you reach safely. So this is the approach that we took in the first COVID. And with this, the city rewarded us very, very well. So suddenly, the police or the BMC, or they realized that we were a valuable partner. So we were the only fleet which was given permission to transport people in the city of Mumbai. And then post that, banks, corporate, essential services, hospitals, everyone were using our services. So the revenues that you talk about was from this system, the ecosystem of the B2B, which is we were supplying to other business holders, and that still continues. What was pretty interesting was within a week's time, so April 2nd of last year, we we launched our own portal where a customer can come for an essential service, book a car online. And so it was like a mini app, Uber app, which we built within a span of 7 days to help the city of Mumbai to come online. So yeah, so that was COVID. We were awarded with the prestigious Governor's Award for our COVID that we did, the lot of work that we did as a company for COVID. So yeah, that was the COVID times
That's
for us.
really fantastic to hear about. And your mobility is such an integral part of daily life. The one thing that we all missed, especially during COVID, was having that support system. So it's just fantastic to hear the role that Everest played. Yeah. I, I'm assuming this has also been a reason why your relationship with Uber over this time has become stronger, because I'm sure Uber saw the advantage of a partner like Everest. You obviously, a lot of your cars, almost all of your cars operate on Uber, but as you mentioned, you're now working on the Hero program. Could you talk a little bit about what this relationship with Uber is and what does it mean for Everest Fleet?
So yeah, so we are the largest partner to Uber in India and one of the larger ones in the world as well. Uber sees us as a pretty integral part of their entire ecosystem. So let me just give you some background. Initially, when aggregators like Ola and Uber started their journey in India, they tried to copy the model which has worked in the West, where the cars are owned and bought by the drivers, and they create the drivers as entrepreneurs. What went wrong with them, which they realized over a period of time, is that they can create entrepreneurs, the drivers as entrepreneurs, but they cannot transfer the risk of entrepreneurship for the driver. So a 5 lakh rupee car or a 6 lakh rupee car is probably the most expensive asset that the driver has in his lifetime. And it's very, very difficult for them to service this. So, so that is the time when Uber realized that partners like us are very, very integral in this ecosystem, and they started developing us. And our relationship with Uber is extremely, extremely strong. We are an integral part of their ecosystem. They give us a lot of priority, or over, or a lot of help and support required, a lot of financial support for us to continue our operation seamlessly. They are also, through this Uber Heroes program, they are also offloading a lot of their back end work onto us. And if you and they consider us as an Uber company, and we consider ourselves as an Uber company. Soon you'll be having over the media this
Right.
announcement being released formally.
Got it.
Uh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It's probably one of the first in the world where there is a different approach taken to a country, and congratulations for building that kind of a relationship. So then I'm going to take a question from the audience which relates to this. Is there a conflict of interest that you've faced with Uber with respect to this relationship between you being a operator partner, also taking direct booking or B2B bookings with respect to Uber's business? And if it has been, how have you handled it?
So our B2B business was primarily during the COVID times, when Uber and Ola were not operating in those initial few months. Currently, the B2B business contributes less than 5% of our revenues, and there is no conflict of interest per se. Rather, Uber is also trying to enter the B2B segment, and they look at us and our learnings as a stepping stone for them. And rather, we have been very supportive partners. So some of our cars also work on Ola's platform, where not the cars that we control directly, but the cars which we give out to drivers to operate. So there is no conflict of interest, or there is no binding agreements on us on the usage of cars.
Understood. Okay. Between the Uber program, your expansion into Hyderabad, the foundation that you've built, how do plans for the next few years look out in terms of roadmap for number of vehicles, a year out, and what does that also mean in terms of maybe revenue, if you could share that?
Sure. We are launching Hyderabad later this month, and mid of next year we will be launching Kolkata, and probably end of next year we will be launching Chennai. So these are the 6 cities where primarily we plan to operate in the next couple of years. We plan to add around 15,000 cars in the next 2 years. That will take our total count to around 16,000 cars. And the revenue, so currently today we are at a monthly run rate of around 12.5 crores of gross revenue, with around 1,500 cars. And even if you just simply multiply this by 10 times, we will be at a gross monthly run rate of around 120, 125 crores by the end of, say, 20 months from today.
That's great. I think that's incredibly aggressive, but great to hear those plans. It obviously is great to also hear it as grip. While we're personally excited because of all the relationship we share, but excited to hear it as grip to be your financing partners. And so that maybe on that, one of the most frequent questions we get is why do companies like Grip become partners to Everest Fleet, right? You have a great business, established, profitable. It should be very easy for you to go and get a bank loan for an asset like a car. Why choose Grip as a financing partner, and how does that fit into your strategy?
So we definitely take bank loans and equity, so the combination of debt and equity to buy cars. So the initial set of 600 plus cars were bought with that combination. Then we shifted our, we wanted to become an asset light company rather than an asset heavy company. So we shifted our model where we don't own the assets on our books, but they are leased out to us in various forms. See, both Uber and Everest are trying to get into a project where we create cars as an asset in this country. So currently we have debt, we have equity, we have gold, we have real estate. These are the commonly known assets. Can we, over a period of time, can we have probably a small percentage of everyone's portfolio invested into cars, which is also a pretty safe asset because there is a collateral and the returns are, just give me a second, please. And the returns are pretty healthy for those assets. So we are trying to develop that. Grip definitely fits into that. So Grip has been an extremely valuable partner to us and an extremely important partner, where more than 300 investors have contributed to buying assets for Everest. And we really value this relationship and nurture it, and we want to, Grip to help us spread the word. So the way we plan to create 100,000 jobs in the next 5 years, we want Grip to help us get 100,000 investors. Whatever the ticket size. The ticket size can be as small as 20,000 rupees, which is your minimum, or as high as whatever it is on our platform.
I don't think anyone could be happier than us listening to it. In a world where there are more and more investment options coming up, and which is a great thing, I think it's interesting to create an option which is in a way hybrid. It's still high yield, but it's also fairly risk managed, right? As you mentioned, there's a collateral in a Maruti car, which has a very recognizable secondary market, very clear use case, clear monetization, and monthly repayments. Right? I think it's fantastic if retail investors can access returns at anywhere between 12 to 14, 15% of interest for investment options like this. And we're obviously very excited by partnering with Everest for the same. I'm sure I've told you, but 5 or 6 years back when Uber launched in India, I dreamt of purchasing a car, hiring a driver, and putting it on Uber's platform, right? And I remember making calls to Uber's call center, trying to figure out how I can do this. A lot of people I spoke to around the Everest deal had exactly the same ambition to be able to now create that option for people at very small ticket sizes is incredibly powerful, and we're obviously excited about doing that with Everest. So that maybe just a couple of last questions from my side, and I can see a few questions from the audience. Electric vehicles. You mentioned that you're doing a pilot, and this is something obviously that's a big theme across India and the world. When is that time to shift that you're thinking about, and how aggressive are you about four-wheeler electric vehicles?
So electric vehicles is a fact of life, is which we are continuously working on. So currently, as a fleet operator or as a supplier to the aggregator platforms, the electric vehicle maths doesn't make sense. Our car currently is 5 lakh rupees on road. An electric vehicle is exactly double the cost, so 10 lakh rupees. The unit economics, because an electric vehicle has to be charged, So a few hours goes wasted, anywhere to from 2 to 7 hours goes wasted charging. So that loss of the utilization again doesn't justify. Yes, electric vehicle, the cost of running a vehicle is around 1.5 rupees compared to our CNG cost of running, which is around 3 rupees a kilometer. So that's the advantage that is there. We are continuously watching this ecosystem, and we will be migrating into electric hopefully a few years from now, when the assets become most cost efficient and reliable assets are there on the for purchase. So for example, today we have only two companies supplying electric vehicles for this segment, which is Tata and Mahindra. When more and more companies come in, and this the market becomes, so we are waiting for those days, which is not immediately, it is at least a couple of years away. This said, we have also done a pilot of electric vehicles, using electric vehicles for goods transport, those three-wheeler electric vehicles. So we are doing a lot of pilots with electric vehicles, but for this segment, it currently doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the same view that we have, that two-wheelers and three-wheelers, electric vehicles for goods transport, even more than passenger transport, are making sense. You're right that by 2030, most of us will be in an electric car, and hence electric is definitely the way to go forward. Okay. So I'm going to take some questions from the audience, and let's begin by a couple of them. So first is, as Uber and Everest all both want to go asset light, right? Don't want to own the car. How do you perceive the extent of risk being taken by the investor in this transaction? Both pros and cons. If you could share your perspective of the risk.
So, so of course, we have a couple of models where people lease out cars to us. In all the models, the first point that we've already addressed, that we have the car as a collateral. So the car being a collateral, that significantly reduces the risk. So at any point in time, the car can be sold at 10% plus minus the depreciated value of whatever the car is. So that the loss is significantly less on that part. The second is that we have Everest Fleet, the company, assuring the lease. So that then the risk is on that the company goes bust, or so that is the second comfort that investors have. And third is that Uber is significantly helping us to to uh, reduce the financial risk on the investors. I'm not allowed to divulge more information on that, but yeah, so the risk for the investors is extremely low when it comes to investing in this asset class.
Understood. And just from my side on this question, any investor on grip, right, should have a look at two, three factors. One is the company that they're leasing to and the company's performance, but also the asset. And I think in all the transactions we do, vehicles and machinery, okay, in our view, are probably the most secure type of assets to look at, both from a recoverability value and a secondary market value. When you combine that along with the profile of the company, I think that's the right decision to make in terms of the lease transaction to be done. Just one additional data point. Shubham, I know you've got your hand raised. If you would like to ask a question, please go ahead. Okay, Shubham, I'm going to wait. I'm going to move on to the next question, but if you have something, please let us know in the future. So moving to the next question, which is also related to the risk. You've mentioned that you have loans from banks, I believe HDFC Bank, and then you have other financial support from GRIP, etc. Is this subordinate to the bank loan that you have, and hence, if there was to be a priority of payment, it would be to the bank and would be different for this? And how does that change the dimensions from a risk perspective?
So we have reduced our debt significantly over a period of past couple of years. So our current net debt is only around 3 crores, lesser than 3 crore rupees. So that is the first point. The second, yes, definitely banks have priority over any other lessors or any other lenders. But that said, we will probably take this 3 crores to zero very shortly, and then GRIP becomes, or investors have the first right in terms of default. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that's solve here.
And just to add to that question, because of this priority, there's also a difference in the cost. Okay,
Of course,
the
yeah.
cost of the bank is definitely cheaper than the cost of financing from GRIP, and that is against balanced against the risks that an investor has because they are subpar to that of a bank, and that difference will definitely lie. I think the more important point is the asset by itself is not the asset that GRIP provides financing for are not hypothecated to the bank. And in the case of a default, those assets still become recoverable and something that becomes monetizable, which adds further protection for the investor. I think that's how we've always perceived the risk. And because of monthly repayments, it sort of becomes a balance against the depreciating value of the asset. So that moving to the next question, you mentioned you're an angel investor, and I think the right questions come. I was going to ask you anyway, but you've obviously been an angel investor. So have you invested in GRIP? Have you made an angel investment in GRIP?
Yes, I have been an earlier investor in GRIP, and while very proud of that fact, this relationship that GRIP and us have is nothing to do with that investment. We are very small investors in GRIP.
Yeah, and to be, that's how Siddharth and I got introduced. Siddharth is invested in GRIP in probably our first equity round, and it's been great to have introduced and then build this very different relationship on the business side subsequently.
So just to add to that, it is in my interest that GRIP prospers and
Yeah.
progresses, and yeah.
Absolutely. I think so. So that we actually do disclose your investment in GRIP on our platform. But as you correctly mentioned, it is not a conflict of interest. In fact, it is beneficial to have you as a shareholder. It reduces the risk, the credit risk for investors.
And let me tell
This is
you guys,
a,
no, let me tell you guys, while I'm an investor in these guys have run through all our numbers, all our books, and they've done extreme level of due diligence on us, and they've not spared even one thing, in spite of the fact that I'm an investor with them.
Thank you for saying that. I think we've also really enjoyed being able to see your facilities. We met a few months back when we did a walkthrough through the garage and saw all of that. So I think it's great to see these operations. One of the things that Siddharth, the reason we run this business, it can't always be about money and valuations, right? It's about the ability, as you said, to create something different and something that is so scalable. I think it excites us that being able to provide an opportunity for investors to be part of growth stories like Everest, I think it's incredible. I think all of us would like to see more and more Everest cars on the road, to be proud of saying, okay, we're riding in a car that we probably own a piece of. I think that's an incredible opportunity.
This said, I would like to invite any of your investors to come and see our facilities and know more. We would love to host them. So you can give an option to people in Mumbai.
Fantastic. No, we'd love to do that. And on this call, if anyone wants to do that, please write into us. We'll make sure that we enable that opportunity. Yeah. Sir, I'm going to put the last question to you. When you do these lease and buyback transactions, do you also deal with used cars? Do you sell and replace them, or you only deal with the new fleet?
So we have bought only new cars up till date. Again, we are exploring buying second-hand cars, but we are in the business of running cars and not maintaining them. So the extra downtime that a second-hand car plays, so that becomes a little disadvantageous for us. This said, currently all our fleet 100% is brand new cars only.
Understood. Okay. Perfect. No, that's great to know. And I think it comes down to the delivering a great quality of service, which I know is very important to what Everest does. Hoping to expand our relationship and our users' relationship with Everest. For all of you, there's currently an investment opportunity with Everest live on our platform.
Nikhil, I think there's one question on the chat which says from Suryakant that what happens after 3 years? Do we use these cars or do we replace them?
Sure.
So Suryakant, just to answer that question, honestly, we don't make a lot of profit on the cars that we lease from you guys. The heavy IRR that we pay you. So our bet is that after 3 years, the car becomes ours, and that is the time when Everest starts making profit. To give you a sense, we haven't sold any of our cars till date since 5 years of operations, just apart from a few cars which we bought wrong. So we plan to run these cars till as long as we can run it. Given our very good maintenance history that we've maintained our cars very well, and we are confident that we can run the cars till the legal limit of their lives. So yes, so we don't sell those cars after 3 years.
Thank you for addressing that. I think we've, as Siddharth mentioned, they have an aggressive plan for deployment of vehicles, and GRIP is very, very keen to support it. We have a live transaction for investment available on our platform with Everest. I'd encourage all of you to try it out, to check it out. But in the meantime, we'll definitely be coming out with more such opportunities regularly and working and expanding our relationship with Everest Fleet. Perfect, Siddharth. Thank you so much for your time. I think this has been very, very helpful to us. Wish you a great remainder of your weekend and happy holidays.
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you,
Thanks
Holly.
to everyone who joined us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.